One evening in the late 1980s, a man in his 20s named Norm walked into a house party in the Hollywood Hills. In this house, which was filled with people, there were all these actors and entertainers and Hollywood-type people, and Norm, who was this kind of scruffy guy with long stringy hair and who had no experience in the entertainment industry, knew he did not fit in here at all. In fact, Norm never would have been at a party like this if not for what had happened to him just a few hours earlier. So that afternoon, Norm had gotten into a fight with his boss at the motorcycle shop where he worked. This small argument had turned into a huge argument that turned into Norm getting fired. Norm left the shop and just began aimlessly walking around Los Angeles until he wound up running into one of his friends. The friend was like, "Tonight, there's gonna be this big party up in the Hollywood Hills. Why don't you come along?" And so now here he was. And so Norm went and found his friend in the house party. Him and his friend were drinking and chatting, and his friend was introducing him to some people, and it was all good, except Norm just couldn't shake the anger he felt about getting fired. Norm just began drinking really heavily, and before long, Norm was completely plastered drunk. Getting totally smashed did not calm Norm down. In fact, if anything, it only made him more blind with rage about what had happened to him. He departs his friend and he goes up to the second floor where there was this balcony that overlooked where basically everybody in the house was. And Norm, who's slurring his speech and he's totally a mess, he screams out to the crowd of these people that he doesn't even know. Basically screams at them to stop what they're doing and listen to him. And everyone did. They turned around and looked up at this guy like, what's going on here? And Norm just begins delivering this totally angry rant that kind of didn't even make any sense. But he's basically ranting about how mad he is and this horrible injustice that's been done to him, and just on and on. He's just pouring out all of his emotions. Eventually, Norman finished up his big, rambling, humiliating speech, and he stepped away from the railing, and everybody down below who, had been wrapped to this point, but now was kind of like, whatever. They went back to the party, and Norm just stood up there kind of taking in the scene, and suddenly he felt a tap on his shoulder. And he turned around and he saw there was this person he didn't recognize, and this person says to Norm, "Hey, have you ever considered acting in a play?" It would turn out that person was a Hollywood producer, and they were putting on a play in LA. And they really liked Norm's look, the whole kind of scruffy vibe, but even more, as they watched him deliver that totally angry, drunken rant that he managed to get all these people to listen to, that it was obvious he had natural charisma and he could command an audience. And so ultimately, this producer literally offered Norm an acting job, and Norm, who really didn't have aspirations to be an actor, but now needed a job because he had just been fired that day, he agreed. He said, "Okay, I'll act in your play." And so Norman would act in this play, and he would do such a good job that he gets noticed by other Hollywood producers and casting directors, and before long, he lands his starring role in the mega hit TV show, The Walking Dead. Norm's full name is Norman Reedus.